The 21st Century Jobs Report published in 2009 encourages school districts to consider whether their learning environment in their schools encourages open-ended curiosity, comfort with no right answer, creativity, taking personal responsibility for identifying and solving problems. In other words, whether it reflects the evolving workplace environment. According to the Skills Commission, those who are comfortable working in artistic, investigative, highly social, or entrepreneurial environments are likely to succeed. Teachers in the Kent School District can help successfully prepare students for their futures by intentionally planning and implementing opportunities for growth in these areas. This video will review strategies teachers can use to help students create, communicate, and collaborate in the digital age.
I start by looking through my GLEs and the state standards, the power standards that my department has determined are important. And then from there, I start to plan backwards. Where do I want my kids to be at the end of the lesson or the end of the unit? And then I incorporate the technology tools that I think will help enhance or benefit the students to get to that point. Much of my curriculum comes from places that I've searched out on my own, whether it's websites that I go to or looking at the Discovery streaming videos each year to see what new information may be available. I also talk with my colleagues in my building as well as at the other buildings to find out what current activities they have their students doing or websites that they may have found, and just really trying on my own accord to try to stay current and really give information that's accurate to my students as best as possible.
A teacher planning for a unit in a one-to-one setting has many more tools at his or her disposal. The technology also allows the teacher to release some things to the students so that the teacher is the guide among learners rather than the sole expert.
Teaching used to be the radio broadcast style where teachers got up and they talked for 45 minutes and the kid was like, "Oh, get me out of here." And what I try to do is I try to teach for anywhere from 5, 10, 15 minutes and then I let the kids do it. If you're going to learn something, you learn by doing. And I can talk to you till you're blue in the face, but unless you get out there and get your hands on it, you're not truly going to learn it.
The tools that I tend to use are the ones that I feel comfortable using as a teacher. I also try to choose tools that I think the kids will find interesting and educational and exciting, kind of motivating for them. And I try to make sure that the tools are going to enhance my teaching and not distract from it. I think some background knowledge is helpful. Sometimes you can get that from your colleagues who maybe have had experience using that tool. And by all means, I'm not afraid to ask my kids if they are more of an expert in something to share those tips with me. It's very important to me as an educator that I do my part to stay current so that the information I give to my students has the most validity and accuracy to it.
When planning for an upcoming lesson, it is very powerful to include student feedback in your planning. Students will feel empowered that they have been part of the teaching and learning process and will be more involved in the personal learning that occurs.
Well, I use surveys for many different purposes. Probably most frequently, I'm using the surveys for student reflection or pre or post assessment of learning, so I can see what they know or don't know, what they need help with. And it's all collected in an organized way, and I can analyze the results really easily. It's captured electronically. I don't have to store a lot of paper or sort through a lot of paper. And it's instantaneous for the most part.
They're used to having instant feedback, and so by being able to utilize the technology that we have, I'm able to give them feedback to things that they are almost expecting because they're used to getting that out there and getting feedback.
I think it gives them more buy-in. Like, they know that their feedback is being used to help me create the lesson or mold the lesson. I, for instance, in the last one, asked them, we're studying reproduction and heredity. What questions do you have as we go into this unit that I can answer for you or address in the unit? And it was very, they're much more comfortable typing out those questions on a topic like that in an electronic survey than asking publicly in front of class.
Another way to get students involved in the content is to engage them in their own preferred medium, online postings.
the one-to-one environment really allows for a unique way to access the students' feedback or opinions or thoughts or ideas that are going on through their head, whether it's during an assignment or during a project or just at home home on their own. I can do it formally sometimes, where I might use a system in Dino where I can ask for a quick survey or a quick question just to get feedback to know exactly where their heads are at and what we're doing, if I need to discuss the topic more, if they're ready for me to move on and so forth. I'm able to access exactly what they're working on and see what's going on in their head to make a good evaluation to see if they're on the right track. I think the most powerful thing that I am able to do is through our virtual classroom, I have students always have discussion threads going. And so it'll be 8 o'clock at night and I can jump on the computer and I can see how they are answering questions with one another. And if someone has an issue or a problem with something that they're trying to figure out, there's going to be 7 or 8 different answers coming from peers. And I can take a look at that and know instantly, great, they've got it covered. Or I can see, wow, I got 8 kids that have no idea what I really want them to be doing. And that's on me. So then I know either at that moment I can address it with them, or I can wait until the next day in class and kind of have a big discussion. But it allows me to really get inside the head of the kids.
I love using mainly the wiki spaces and blogs type things, because it allows students to write their thoughts. And then also when we're just talking basic reading, writing skills, it changes the discussion, because you have to now read someone else's post to reply to it. So it's working on your reading skills and your writing skills.
I enjoy using blogs for writing, mostly because, for one, it's a lot easier to type than to write something out.
Writing online is pretty easier because you can type faster than writing, and also you don't have to get it ruined. You can always have it on the internet instead of finding it everywhere in your backpack or something.
Kids really are very cognizant of what they're writing down and what they're putting down and the information they're putting. And so it really kind of changes to how kids frame their thoughts and ideas, especially in this day and age with Twitter and Facebook, where kids are used to just putting stuff out there and not thinking about the consequences. With this, there's consequences with your peers, and what you put out there, kids are going to read and remember and kind of bring up, and so it's kids are really thinking about what they're writing and how they're putting things out there. You have to come up with things that are high interest for the students. If you're able to create things that they want to talk about, then you'll get a lot of interest. And it's not hard to get kids to use the wikis and the blogs, because that's now their social medium.
People have things to say that they don't want to say out loud, so other people can hear it, because they know they want to share it, but they don't want to share it out loud.
A lot of students are shy and don't feel like talking.
But in a classroom dynamic, a kid will be able to get away with a 1 or 2 word answer for their participation. But online, those kids usually have to take multiple sentences to kind of put their thoughts out there.
The Center for Public Education states that today's students will need the ability to act independently and solve problems on their own, strong interpersonal written, oral, and social skills to collaborate with others, the ability to acquire information independently, and the ability to learn new skills and change strategies to stay competitive. These skills can best be met in a project-based classroom. The project-based model gives students longer periods of time to complete formal measurements of their work, interspersed with checks for understanding and mini lessons to complement the student's own learning.
Percentage-wise, maybe 10% of my class is lecture, and the rest of it's going to be project learning, guided instruction, in different kinds of assessments.
I kind of prefer long-term assignments towards shorter-term assignments, because long-term I can actually think and get a deeper concept of the assignment, and short-term I don't really get a bunch of time to think about it, and it's just really quick answering and thinking about it. So if I have a long-term assignment, then I can actually think and get deeper meaning and actually do my best. So
I do personally like working in a group, but there are a lot of challenges. You could get people in your group that don't really try very hard in school. I mean, they're capable of doing it, but they just don't really want to. So then that's the bad part, but the good part is you could have someone that has a different point of view than you, so you can learn something totally different.
There are many ways to give students options in a technology-rich classroom. In a classroom without these tools, a teacher may be limited in the choices that are possible. When equal access to technology is added, the teacher can expand the possibilities to include almost anything. Technology lends itself very naturally to enhancing the learner-centered classroom. Students love being given the opportunity to use their own talents and abilities to showcase their best work while becoming more involved in the required content.
I create a sense of ownership in my kids by kind of giving them a lot of choice in the class, but also making sure that I have a lot of relationship and they have a lot of relationship with each other, that they feel comfortable enough to kind of keep each other in check. It's a lot of modeling and correcting behavior as soon as it happens, and teaching them what the right way is when they choose the wrong decision. And again, it's student choice. What could you have done, and letting them make the decision what they could have done instead of me dictating what they could have done. And a lot of times they'll come up with something that's even better than me saying, well, that's a school rule and you need to follow it, and kind of having them talk it out instead of me just kind of telling them everything. So
right now we're doing a project on the life cycle of stars, and we get to do it in any way we want to. We could do a presentation, or we could do interpreting dancing or something, or we could do a rap or whatever we want. So I think it's cool because it gives you variety and options. So it actually makes me more motivated to do it because I get actually do something I want to do rather than being forced to do something.
They tend to want to be here, and so there's less absences, less skipping, less faking illnesses, things like that. They're here on time, if not early, to ask me questions.
Creativity is key to what I like. I like being creative. It makes you different from all the rest of the people. If a teacher tells you you have to have this, and in a format that they already have created for you, everybody's project's gonna look exactly the same. Maybe a few changes here and there, but it's gonna be par with each other. And if you have creativity to choose, then you can either make it a lot worse or a lot better.
The more ownership they have in their project, the more likely they are to remember it, the more likely they are to understand it, and there's always a risk whenever you're allowing choice. That means that you are not controlling something, and I think teachers by nature tend to be a little bit of control freaks, and we like things the way we like them. And if you don't do it my way, that's not always a good thing. But to understand that there's a lot of value to that unknown, to not knowing what they are going to produce. Sometimes it's going to astonish you.
The things I've learned along the way is that sometimes too many parameters on an assignment or too much choice is not good, but not having enough is not good either, because then they get really frustrated at, I really want to do this, but you're not letting me, so I'm not going to do it. Also, like I said, the organized chaos really took me. I like a very structured, very, this is how my robot student will act, and over especially the last few years, I had to let it go. As long as they're learning, whatever capacity that is, I have to let them, as long as it's not interrupting other people's learning. Letting them choose from project topics to the medium to the partners, and they feel empowered when they get that, when they know that this is not just my thing for them, that this is theirs, and they can take ownership in that. I've had a kid come in before. She was really talented at the guitar, and she came in and she wrote a song about her topic, and it was phenomenal. She came in and the kids were captivated, and it was really obvious that she had a great deal of understanding about that topic, and she was able to do it through a vehicle that she felt was a good representation of her best skills, and it was really cool. Every now and again you get kids with really exceptional talents. I had a girl once, incredible artist. She painted a mural on canvas representing her topic and then explained it. It was incredible.
Well, when the teacher gives us a project like that, there is a certain, it's like a fence, but then and then you get to make your own theme park inside. So that's the way I think of it. So then what's really cool is we do learn everything, and we learn what the teacher's trying to get out, but when we get to make our own theme park, everyone has something different, so then the rides don't get boring. So then you can look at another person's project and be like, hey, I wish I did that. And it's a really big learning experience if we have a project where we have that much freedom.